There's a reason the Second Amendment's right next to the First. You think about the liberties we have as Americans, the greatest country ever with the Constitution and the rights we enjoy. You need the Second Amendment to protect all those fundamental liberties.
I'm here in the headquarters of the USCCA in West Bend, Wisconsin. And as you can probably see, I have some very special guests here today I'm very excited about. Representing Ohio's 4th Congressional District, I'm here with Congressman Jim Jordan.
Good to be with you.
And from my very own state and my very own district, representing Wisconsin's 5th Congressional District, I'm here with Scott Fitzgerald. Gentlemen, thanks for being here.
Our pleasure.
You bet.
So, quick side story, viewers. We actually went to the range this morning, and I was very impressed with the gun handling as well as shooting of both of these guys.
It's fun.
So, you know, this has been in the news so much lately. In 2020, NICS background checks were up almost 40% over the previous year. I mean, that's a tremendous amount. And of those, it's estimated that over 5 million of those gun purchases were purchased by people that have never owned guns before. Now, when you think about that, I suspect that there's probably a lot of those 5 million people that before 2020 would never have dreamed of owning a gun. But now they own a gun. And they're probably not sure what to do with that gun, not sure where to store it, not sure what kind of training to get. And so a little bit of that makes me nervous, but at the same time excited because that's actually the business I'm in, of educating and training people. So I guess, what are your thoughts on this huge resurgence of new gun owners?
Americans are smart people. They're like, look, they saw all the ridiculous stuff that happened over the summer of 2020, and they said, you know, I think they're saying, we're going to get a firearm and learn how to handle it, work with great organizations like yours. When you got Democrat members of Congress saying they're for defunding the police. You got one member of Congress who's on record as saying you need to get rid of police. I think that's probably what's driving people to say, I'm going to do, I know your story, what you said, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to protect our property and our family.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always been a real lineage, a heritage that's always been associated with owning a firearm in Wisconsin. We spoke earlier about concealed carry, and for a state like Wisconsin, I think the assumption for many years was that concealed carry was part of Wisconsin, and yet, it was not, and it wasn't until the legislature worked on legislation and got everybody kind of comfortable with that, that it was able to be implemented. And I hear from Wisconsinites all the time that say, they are so glad that concealed carry is now in place, and they feel like they can protect their personal and their property as a result of it.
And I suspect that a lot of these brand new 5 million gun owners are people that are going through their own self-defense awakening. So I'm curious. I'm sure that our members would love to hear your own self-defense journeys and how you guys came to have this belief that, yes, the firearm is there for me to protect my family and loved ones.
There's a reason the Second Amendment's right next to the First, because you think about the liberties we have as Americans, the greatest country ever with the Constitution and the rights we enjoy. You need the Second Amendment to protect all those fundamental liberties. Your right to practice your faith, your right to assemble, your right to petition your government, freedom of the press, freedom of speech, privacy rights, on and on it goes. Frankly, in today's world, in light of it, like I said, what we saw all last summer, it's really sad in that I do think you now have one of the major political parties, the Democrat Party, many of their members sort of normalized anarchy last summer when they tolerated and said things almost in support of it. That is a dangerous direction to go, and particularly what they've done, the negative things that they have done and the impact they've had on, I think, our great law enforcement community. Those are troubling concepts, troubling trends, and again, I think that's why you're seeing such a growth in your business.
Yeah, for sure. So, Congressman Fitzgerald, I know that you just got elected to the House of Representatives, and congratulations for that.
Thank you.
Of course, this comes after decades of service in the state of Wisconsin. But what's your backstory on your, obviously heartfelt belief in the Second Amendment?
Well, my dad was in law enforcement for 55 years. So my brother and I were always around kind of that environment. And you would hear the stories that my dad would tell, every Sunday evening around the dinner table about what he was up against or what he would see throughout that week. And I think it did give you kind of a little bit better understanding or maybe a little bit more rounded understanding of kind of what law enforcement goes through on a regular basis. And we're talking about somebody that originally became a police officer in Chicago in 1966.
Wow.
So he lived through the riots of 68 and a lot of other things that have gone on. And then also I had an opportunity and was very motivated to join the Army when I was 17. And it was another way that I was exposed kind of to the area of security. And whether it was physical security of some buildings or obviously personal security. I mean, all these things kind of feed into what I think is important now, and I think what a lot of Wisconsinites think is important, as well as as we work on legislation at the federal level. All these things are kind of intertwined, and they all have an impact. But Jim's right. I mean, we're up against kind of a whole new philosophy that's out there, and it's alarming.
Yeah, scary as well.
Right.
So that's actually a perfect segue. I would love to talk about national concealed carry reciprocity. I can literally hear probably half of the 600,000 members watching right now saying, "Come on, Tim, let's talk about that."
Right.
So HR 38, I know both of you guys support that. And the reason that HR 38 is needed is because, I mean, the United States is literally a patchwork of concealed carry laws. Every state's slightly different. And, I think one of you guys are mentioning if you take a trip to Wyoming or to Florida, you're going to cross over 5, 6, 7 states. And not only will the laws not match up, but they're changing constantly. We literally have a handful of full-time employees, and all they do is update our concealed carry reciprocity maps because they're constantly changing. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts on the National Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act. But before you give me your thoughts, I do want to toot our own horn a little bit. About 6 to 8 weeks ago, we decided to hey, let's get behind this thing. And so we put together a petition form, and I think it took us maybe 3 weeks, and we got over 315,000 signatures on this thing, which of course, the way that the government is set up right now, it's not going to go anywhere. But we got elections coming in the fall.
Yeah.
So love some thoughts on national concealed carry reciprocity.
Well, no, it's needed. It's great legislation. Unfortunately, with the makeup of the United States Congress right now and the Biden administration, the chances of passage are just not good. We just got to be honest. You got to get Republicans back in charge, which I think is going to happen in the House, and I think potentially the Senate. But I feel really good about our chances in the House in 22. But then again, we could pass it. The Senate could pass it, and you got President Biden. So you're going to need Republicans in charge to get it done in the end. But it's good legislation because it's common sense, and it's consistent with liberty. It's consistent with the Second Amendment.
I mean, I would say HR 38 is kind of you wish it wouldn't be partisan.
Yep.
Because what's been going on for many, many years is state legislatures have actually tried to reach across the aisle and actually speak to other states to try and develop strategies for, okay, what is the parameters of our training that would meet the same standards as our neighboring state. That has been going on. So it's kind of like, HR 38 is almost trying to catch up with what some state legislatures have already been trying to attempt. But
that's a good point.
But I am hopeful that we will get there, and because it does put some people in jeopardy, in check for no reason at all.
Right. And by and large, these people that do get in trouble, I mean, they're the good guys.
Yeah.
We're the good people that get the training, that get the concealed carry permits, that establish a regular training regimen. And unfortunately, there's so many people in this country, some of them are leading this country, that feel that gun laws stop crime. They don't have anything to do with crime.
Yeah.
But we mentioned training, so let's go there. This morning was a blast. You got to experience just a taste of the level and the quality of USCCA instruction and training, and I hope you guys were impressed. Something my late father always told me. He said, Tim, training is like bathing. Best when done on a regular basis.
Yeah,
that's right.
And so I guess I would love to hear your guys' perspective on that, because I've really come to understand that to be that first line of defense for your family, for your wife and for your children, you need to have a training regimen. Mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily always going to the range. Sometimes it's visualization. Sometimes it's dry firing in your living room. But it's important to do it on a regular basis. I keep thinking back of what good old Dad used to say.
Yeah.
And really, that's the heart of what the USCCA is all about. We're all about. I mean, the last thing we ever want any of our members to have to do is to pull the trigger, and they don't want that either.
Right.
And the more training you have, the less likely you are to have to do that. So
I would say, I mean, I'm obviously influenced by my years in the military. The military always prides itself on its ability not only to train its own members, but to be able to make sure that there's a standardization amongst all that are part of the military. You know, any of these weapons, they change on a regular basis. I don't care if you're using a revolver or if you're using an AR-15, and along with that, the training has to change. It has to be updated, and it's on the individual that's handling that gun to make sure that they do understand how it functions, how it works, to make sure that it's that you're safe with that weapon. And certainly, I think that's something that has to be, like you said, you got to do it all the time.
Well, Congressman Jordan, Congressman Fitzgerald, thank you guys for being here. It's an honor
you. It's a
to
pleasure was
finally
ours.
get to meet both of you. For all of you watching this, thank you for being here today. Keep being your family's defender. Take care and stay safe.